back to Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm James Pendleton, and I'm here today joined by Mike Richards from the Unholy Trinity podcast and Stephen Hornby. We're here to talk about a couple of things to do with Everton this week. Obviously, it's not been a game, so it's been relaxing in one sense. But obviously, there's been some news as well this week, which has meant that we couldn't even properly enjoy this. But we'll crack straight into it. One thing that has been a topic of discussion has been Dele Alli. Obviously, there's some rumours going around about how he may have played a part in this potential FFP issue Everton have got right now, but obviously you've been in the news before that. I'll come to you first, Mike. I mean, what do you kind of think's going on with Dele now? Because I was thinking about him the other day, actually, before this topic came up, but it's so strange how his career's just gone from looking like it was fine to just completely off a cliff. I mean, what kind of thing put that down to? And obviously, how do you kind of sum up his Everton career as well, would you say?
I think all of it is, he burst onto the scene as a young kid, didn't he? And you see it quite often when kids come on the scene and they play so well so young. He got a big move, obviously, from MK Dons to Spurs. Sometimes they peak very, very early in the career. You do see it. And, you watch Jude Bellingham now. He's 19 years of age. He plays at the top level. He starts for England. And you can say for him, the fact that maybe sometimes it's too much too soon. And I think Dele's sort of in that bracket because is at his best. He was absolutely fantastic. What a footballer he was, and there was hope when he signed for Everton that maybe he could rediscover some kind of form. And it was always a bit of a strange signing because of the fact he never fitted into the Frank Lampard system. He was always better as almost playing off the striker or playing as a second striker. So it never really worked. And when he came on for Everton, sometimes you were seeing him playing out wide, out left and right, and it was just a strange signing, but you thought, with a bit of support from the fans, which he got, and backing from Evertonians, and a manager that he could look up to, maybe he'd discover some kind of form, but hasn't happened. But the club used it as a glorified loan, didn't he? Because we used up all our loan spots for the season, obviously with the El Ghazi loan, which was, we won't discuss that, of course, but it was a glorified loan. We haven't paid anything for him to Spurs. We're not likely to. I don't think that's going to form any part of the situation we've got with the Premier League currently. To be honest, I think it pretty much went down. It went down as nil in terms of the transfer fee because there was no fee to be paid. We're not going to play him because he'll cost us money. So even when the season's over, he comes back to Finch Farm potentially. We won't see him in an Everton shirt. There's no way. And it's a shame. It's a shame because I think the kid has probably fallen out of love with football, to be honest with you. And he's got other interests outside of it, which probably distract him a little bit as well. And yeah, it was always a bit strange to me. We hope we get something out of him. People might say, we come on against Palace and those 45 minutes, and that probably justified the signing in the end. And maybe it did, but Dele Alli, he's gone to Turkey, struggled there. His attitude maybe questioned, but I feel from it, just think that it was just too much too soon with him at a young age, and that unfortunately has had a detrimental impact on the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned right at the start there, obviously, Jude Bellingham being a player who's played a lot of games. I don't know if you saw the same graph I saw on Twitter before. I've just got it up here where Bellingham's played 191 games already, and he's not even 20 yet, which is an insane amount of football. I think Dele Alli is sixth on this list for games played before a certain age, and Rooney's the one next to him. So Dele Alli played 119 games when he was at the same sort of period. Wayne Rooney's obviously just ahead of him. Obviously, Rooney's someone whose career tailed off towards the end, but say not this early. I think 26. Rooney was probably in maybe a sort of almost like a second prime, really, because how good he was when he was a kid. But that's kind of where he was at. Would you sort of go along with that, Steve? And do you just think it was he's kind of just, by the time he got to Everton, he was totally burnt out, and the fact that he can't even recover it in Turkey, where you get some mad players banging the goals, and the fact that he's even struggled out there kind of says it all, doesn't
it? I think the Dele situation, just within football, not just within Everton, is a pretty it's pretty unknown territory, I think, because I think there's a lot more behind the scenes with him than we don't see. I think you can compare him to players like Bellingham. You can compare him to players like Mason Mount, all these English players who are coming through and doing pretty well. I think Dele has got some things that we're not, and I wouldn't like to speculate about it, but I think a lot of people are looking at him and going, what went wrong with his career? He used to be great and now he's not. I think there's something a bit deeper below the surface with Dele. And I think it will, I think it's going to possibly spark something within if he talks about it, because there's definitely some sort of issue going on there. I think Mike was right in the way that he has fell out with football a little bit. And when you're peaking so early, I remember when I was about, I remember being in high school when he scored that goal against Palace, and everyone was like, he's going to be the best player in the world. He's something else. And the way he used to link up with Harry Kane, everyone was like, yeah, this lad's going to be something else. And I was excited when he signed for us because I wanted to see what he could do. I don't think it's a question of quality whatsoever, and I don't think it's a question of attitude. I think there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about with him. And I think there's been so much speculation in the media and in papers that isn't helping at all. I think it's obviously a massive cliche, but footballers are human beings as well. You know, there's a mental side to the sport that we don't see. And I think he subject A of that. You know, I think there's a lot going on that we don't see, and people expect because he's pretty well off and because he's travelled all over the world and because he's doing what was his dream, people think he should be bulletproof for it. I think the Turkey move was a wrong one for him. I think it was probably a bad place to go at the time. I think he would have probably been better either staying in England or going somewhere like Germany, where we saw with like Damari Gray went to Germany and he spoke about how it sort of revitalised his career. I don't think it's a question of attitude or ability with Dele. I think, like Mike said, I think he's fell out of love with the game, and it's really sad to say. Yeah, I think people should be careful in the way they talk about it because we don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something else there because he's not had like a bad injury. He's not had like some public falling out. He didn't go through any period, I don't think, until obviously now where he's not been playing. He's always been, even when he wasn't a favourite at Tottenham, he was in and around the first team. Conte brought him back in. He looked really good in that game against Liverpool. I always kind of felt like one problem with him was that obviously Spurs, everyone around him either left, got older, regressed, or, you know, in terms of actually went on to retire there or whatever, he just kind of stagnated. And then I felt like that number 10 position just kind of overnight almost kind of came out of football. Like we just don't see that many number 10s anymore. And I think the game's changed in a way where, you know, Evolve will be extinct. And I think he's unfortunate or latter at the minute. But I'd be shocked if there's not something going on behind the scenes there, as you say, Steve. And going back to you then, Mike, I mean, something I didn't realise until the other day was like he's actually got a year left on his deal because I said, yeah, it won't be our problem come the summer because I thought his deal expired this summer, but he's got another year. So, I mean, how's that going to work? Because there's no way he's playing for Sean Dyche. I don't think. I can't see how that's going to happen. I don't know who buys him, who takes him. The only thing I can see is that his contract gets ripped up and whether we have to pay money then, whether Spurs pay money, whether he is happy to just sit around for a year and not be involved at all. I really don't know. Well, how do you kind of see this year planning out as hard as it may be to predict?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly won't be part of Sean Dyche's plans. Let's be perfectly honest. And I know Sean Dyche, you know, he's quite fond of a 4-4-2 system. We haven't really seen that yet in a great deal of detail. Looking at how we settle with this moments in time. So you can't envisage a time where Dele Alli gets any kind of prolonged game time under Sean Dyche. Obviously, we make the assumption, one, that Sean Dyche is going to be still the manager, which you think he will be. Obviously, where Everton are is another factor to actually bring into the equation because, you know, if Everton, you know, God forbid, and fingers crossed we do get relegated, then that means the likes of Dele Alli, who's on a pretty big, substantial contract anyway, he will definitely be shipped out. But Everton, as I say, the fact that, you know, we make so many appearances, we've got, I think it's 20 appearances, which I don't think he's done, but he hasn't done yet. We haven't paid Spurs a penny.
It's like 13, I think I saw. On
13, yeah. So, you know, he's not too far away, but Everton aren't certainly going to want to give him any kind of game time. But if obviously we sell him on, I'm sure Spurs will get a percentage of that particular any kind of deal. If he does get sold on, it won't be for any kind of major money. As you say, another option is the contract gets ripped up and we give him some kind of payoff, and then just say to Spurs, this is the situation. We'll pay him off, and then that's that. But if we do happen to sell him, then it will mean that we have to give Spurs some kind of money. Another loan is an option, obviously, as well, to see out the final year of his contract somewhere else. But the problem we've got is who's going to want to bring Dele Alli in based on what's happened this season with Besiktas. He's had, he scored a couple of goals, but then he's had fallings out with manager. Apparently he went AWOL. Dele said he didn't. He was told he could go to a doctor's appointment, so he was due back the following day, and he did arrive. So obviously something's not right there, but they're certainly not going to make the deal permanent. Other suitors will look at that and think, do we really want a player like Dele in and around our club if we're not going to get any kind of output from him? And that's a big thing. So I sort of sway towards potentially the contract being ripped up. Some kind of mutual agreement is reached, and Dele is then obviously free to leave the club and free to go and do what he wants to do elsewhere. But I certainly don't see him in an Everton shirt again, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd be absolutely shocked. I don't think it's not something I'm thinking about anyway. I mean, it's interesting because you say he doesn't like that 4-4-2, which he doesn't fit in stylistically or in terms of an actual position on the pitch. Funnily enough, in the system we are playing now, he would probably fit into that sort of more advanced midfielder role if he had any sort of fit stylistically. But I say he couldn't be much further away. Would you agree with that, Stephen? Do you think there's any potential future for him at Everton? Because obviously this last year's been so bad for him.
To be honest, I'm not. I think like I mentioned before, I'm more worried for him personally than his future at Everton. I don't think he has much of a future at Everton. I think Sean Dyche. But to be honest, we're saying that. I think if there's any manager, and I've said this since Dyche came in, if there's any manager who, if I was having a bad time, I would want to play for, it'd be him. I feel like he's got the perfect man. I feel that he's probably one of the better managers Everton have had in the past 10 years or something like that. If there was a manager, if I was struggling the way I think Dele is, and I wanted to come and fall back in love with football, he's the manager I'd want to play for. I feel like Dyche is the type of manager, he'll give everyone a chance. If he does end up coming back for the pre-season next year, for a month or two before they decide what to do with him, he'll give him a fair chance. He did say, we all thought Decore was finished until Dyche came in. We hadn't seen Decore in months, and now he's one of our better players in the side. I think, will he stay at Everton? No, I don't think. I think, as Mike said there, a loan would probably be the better option for him. I think he needs to get a better agent, definitely, because he's got himself into a bit of a mess with all this deal, hasn't he? I think the best option for Dele Alli would be to, cut himself out of all of these deals he's got, whether it be with Everton, Besiktas, or Tottenham, and then just go and either try and fall back in love with football, maybe drop a league somewhere, or maybe just give up on football entirely, because I think you can tell when a footballer's not enjoying themselves. I think that's certainly the thing with Dele, because whenever you see him with Besiktas, I don't think it's the right fit at all. I can't really understand his reason for being there. I feel like he would have, if he wanted to get back into the playing style in England and he wants to get fit again, I think it would have been better for him to stay in England. So to answer your question, James, no, I don't see him coming back and being part of the squad. I would love him to be, because obviously I've got great memories of him. I've got quite a lot of nostalgia of him at Tottenham and stuff. And I think last season, like Mike said, I know we talk about it a lot, but he did come on and do a great job against Palace. I think for him, I think his future is up to him. He's still got plenty of time. He's still young. He's not, he's not at the age where he's winding down his career. He could still get it back on track if he really wanted to. I think it just depends on his mindset, really. So I think that remains to be seen. It's so hard to predict.
Yeah, yeah. First and foremost, we obviously want him to be all right as a person. I mean, I'm not really thinking of him as an asset to Everton. To be fair, in terms of,
Mm.
because I do just think it's so far gone now. Certainly for him at the top level, unless he does have a massive reset somewhere or potentially here. But I would be very surprised. But say first and foremost, obviously we want him to be all right in a mental sort of space. It's interesting because I saw actually where we'll be talking today on that podcast. We said that Frank Lampard was quite sort of relaxed in training and stuff, but then he seemed to say Dele wasn't working very hard, and that's why he got rid of him. So things must have obviously hit a real sort of nadir for him by then. But make sure to let us know down below what you think about Dele Alli's future at Everton, whether he's got anything going there. And obviously, I say we all hope he is all right as a person, and obviously we'll see what happens with his football. So thanks so much to Mike and Stephen for coming on to chat about that, and we'll see you all again soon. Thank you very much.